So we're going into a new series now,
Sure.
Series 2, The Blind Spots. So value trapped inside your data, the aha moment.
Uh-huh.
The theme, what hospitals don't know about their hidden opportunities until they see them. The value that no one sees. The purpose is to reveal where the client got the results he hasn't expected.
Hmm.
So I know that, you're reasonably fresh inside ChristianaCare, so it doesn't have to necessarily reflect that. But
Yeah. I think when you think about data that surprises you or value that was hidden in the data, I can't help but think about recovery. I can't help but think about um, paying the wrong prices, identifying those price points and going back after the vendors and, getting what's owed to you. But I also think about utilization and standardization, right? Like, where are we doing the same procedures, but there's a 20 or 30% cost difference? Same procedure, two different doctors, just one costs a lot more. Those conversations are actually much easier to have. It's easier to have a conversation with a stakeholder about your specific behavior, showing them what others in your organization are doing for the same thing, and then just talking it out, right? And that doesn't traditionally show up unless you're really diving into data, right? That won't show up in SKU level benchmarking because you could be buying the same widgets. Maybe you're just using more product in a specific procedure. Maybe you're using more services for a specific procedure or technology. And I think so. I think those are always really great opportunities when you can have those conversations. So that's the one that comes to mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
but real big surprises, with regards to thinking, oh, I never thought that I would actually get that money from, this spot because it's so well protected, and I had no, let's say, level of transparency. The supplier always had the control over what they provided me.
Yeah, I think the other example I think about is some of the stuff we're working on, some of the audits. I think about the GPO audit, right? That's a space that, we assume everyone's good. And I think there are good intentions, right? So we expect rebates, admin fees. Are they accurate? Are we getting them all? I think that's an area where when we dive in, there's gaps.
Yep.
So I think that's a nice surprise, completely new to our roadmap, something that we can now, cash in and hopefully get closer to our savings target or our value target.
Yep.
But yeah, I would say those are aha moments. I think looking at our price variation, were there moments where we paid different price points that are just incorrect, and can we go back and get that back? But outside of that, major aha moments for me, I think the aha moments for me in supply chain have always been around physician utilization, looking at procedural cost, and really like why sometimes there are big gaps. For one item in a specific procedure can drive your cost up a couple $1,000s. And if you're doing that procedure hundreds of times a year, it adds up.
Yeah. But how do you then take control of that? Because that's quite a difficult scenario,
It
right? Because you're
is.
talking about a physician, the reason why he did it. There'll be a number of different reasons why he particularly charged that rate because of all the complications that you were not aware of potentially.
So I think that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. I think those conversations with physicians actually go pretty well when you can show them the data, outcomes, and show what their peers are doing. It can be a pretty transparent conversation. Some people just do what they've been taught and they do it that way. I think the harder part for that conversation is how often are we seeing that. So when I was thinking about this, we touched on it earlier. Looking at procedural costs, looking at charges, the contribution margin. I think one of the I'm working on this on a project now. It's been 6 months.
6 months.
6 months, and we're finally getting training on this application next Friday. It's worthwhile. We're getting total cost. We're going to get charges all in one dashboard. I know that in the next year, there's going to be solutions out there that can do that faster.
Right.
It's just tying the different data sets, make some assumptions. You've done this across multiple hospitals now. We don't change that much.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for that to happen. And you see the progression. So like this company, they've been around for a while. They're a good partner, but you can tell that maybe they haven't modernized, right? The data is going to be powerful. I'm really looking forward to diving in next Friday. My team's looking forward to it. Because those are going to be those conversations. It's all utilization. I don't need to convince you to change your implant, change your vendor. It's where's the variation and can we just change the behavior? Those are exciting conversations for us. I think those are actually easier. But it's been 6 months. So now I'm working with another vendor that I think can do that in 2 to 3 months. But now
Wow.
imagine where AI advances.
Yep.
It might be weeks in the near future where you can tie in EMR data, charge data, bring it into your expense, bring it in by physician. Like I can't wait for that, and I think those conversations will become easier because now the data's there at our fingertips.
Yeah, just get back down to like core manufacturing and car manufacturing. Everything's related to every part, every bill of materials is actually, completely documented. And once it goes through the manufacturing plant, everything's registered, because you've got to, if a fault goes wrong, etc. Is that the dream?
I think it is a dream, and I think if you get consistent with what you're doing by procedure, again, maybe it won't be consistent by vendor. And I know supply chain loves to focus on let's get from 7 vendors to 2.
Yeah.
But let's just say you have 7 vendors, right? Whatever, it's still a hip, it's still a knee. If that gets cleaned up and now your costs are overall similar, imagine how much better your forecasting is going to get, right? Your demand planning for those procedures. So I think the cleaner that gets, the more visibility you have, the more line of sight you're going to have to predictability and forecasting for how you manage your inventory for those procedures. So as the OR schedules out, preference cards are updated, now you can get more predictive and plan.
Well, it's, eventually, got 40 seconds, it's eventually going to end up like Amazon in the consumer side.
Yeah.
I want it, plug it,
Agreed.
Rise by drone comes in
Agreed.
here,
Agreed.
not holding your inventory inside your warehouse, come directly from the OEM,
Yeah, I agree. It's speed.
if your forecasting is correct.
Exactly. And for some of these spaces like pacemakers, you can bring it into your warehouse now, right? So with anything else that goes with that pacemaker, any other ancillary products, to your point, now you can package it all up and get it to your EP lab.
Yep.
Right. So I think we're very close to that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
All right. Cool.
So we're now going to move into series 2. Okay, and this is going to be talking about the blind spots. So value trapped inside your data, the aha moment. So the theme, what hospitals don't know about their hidden opportunities until they see them, the value that no one sees. So the first blind spot question that we actually have, how do you personally and your team look at spend in a non-traditional way? Because obviously, an aha moment, one data set can result in a completely different outcome. And from your perspective, give me examples of what you see.
How do we look at different ways and the ahas?
Yeah. You go into a situation and, you say, oh, I was going to do legal and I was going to do this. And then all of a sudden, you know what? That's not the place, to actually look at.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's those things that you think like the biggest bucket of spend. We're doing that now with some purchase services reviews, right? Where it's like everybody thinks it's our facility maintenance provider. Look at that. And it's like, no, it's just the biggest contract. That contract's actually really solid.
Yeah.
But it's these smaller ones that we're using consulting to do work to tell us things that we already knew what we were going to do.
Is that your aha moment?
No, it's not. That isn't aha. I think almost, no, I don't. I think everybody knows that to some degree. But the aha moments are when you start categorizing things.
Right.
And you start putting them into buckets together instead of looking at disparate vendors, or you start really, and we do this with supplies, but not so well with services, with other spend, right? Where you start putting them in categories and you start seeing.
Why don't you, from that viewpoint? Because, is that in itself that aha moment?
I think the industry hasn't done that. Like, they don't. Then that's one of the things, that's the aha for us, is we started categorizing our spend into categories and putting we have category managers, not just spend managers. They're categories. And they're responsible for understanding their contracts, understanding that spend, and starting identifying within that. So if you're equipment maintenance, you're not just the primary equipment maintenance provider. You're looking at all of them going, aha, these are somewhat redundant to these, and how can I align those better? Or we have 3 different versions of the same contract, not the same price. Like you start seeing those things, and you start categorizing things and putting them together and looking at it through that lens, and having your teams look at it through that lens and engage their customers in that way, as opposed to. So that is the aha for us. Even in the supply side, like you look at it as the whole, and your aha could be, I was just focused on these 2 vendors, but all these little tailspin guys are all sucking up a lot of spend. If I can get those and take those and wrap those up, which some people don't care about, like maybe I can make a difference.
Yeah, well, traditionally, right,
Yeah.
the tailspin vendors themselves, first of all, no one knows that a new tailspin vendor has actually been added.
True. Yep.
You know, from that viewpoint, then all of a sudden your tail gets up to be very, very long from that
exactly.
viewpoint. But, when you talk about, let's say, the aha moments, in your, let's say, history with regards to Rush, I love the example with the laundry. To me, that's a aha moment.
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what the opportunity was, and then now what you've actually created is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
That to me is an aha.
Well, and I think that's in healthcare or in supply chain, we always talk about savings. If you start thinking not only in categorization, but then how do I add value, not just save it.
Yep.
Like save price at the pump is the only possible way to save money. It's not.
Yeah.
So that example is
Give the listeners a little bit of a tee up with regards to this, because this is...
So basically looking at new linen providers, like we were not happy with the one we had.
Yeah.
We thought about building our own, trying to partner with people to build our own. We couldn't get the capital together. Weren't sure we wanted to do that. So, but we did know we wanted to do something different. So we engaged some people on our board. We said, hey, what if we also, our mission as a healthcare provider is to have improved the service area that we serve, right? And help with growing those communities.
Yeah.
And we're the biggest, in a lot of ways, we're often the biggest job provider of those communities. How do we grow that? So it's like, we could use this, let's put that in that community, hire from that community. Got a philanthropic partner invest in doing that, built a state-of-the-art linen facility, hired all local people, trained them, so created a bunch of jobs. It's right down the street it's centrally located between all of our hospitals and our clinics. Dramatically reduced the amount of like lead time we need to get stuff from our linen provider. The carbon footprint dramatically increased. There's redundancy automatically built into the facility.
When did that aha moment come? Because typically
when you're starting to put together all the different things, it's that strategic thinking, like value add, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we need to. We don't have we have a problem. We don't have a good service provider. We're not getting good service. We need to improve. The cost keeps going up because the service is going. We keep adding excess linen just as backups, those types of things, right? And then it's like we also have these other things that we're trying to do, which is increase jobs in our community, reduce our carbon footprint. Start like, how do we do all those things together? What are ways we can do that? We did that. We looked at doing that with our distribution partner as well. Like you just start thinking that way,
right?
Putting all the pieces together instead of just focusing on just savings.
So even the distribution. So because to me, a blind spot with regards to looking at it in a completely non-traditional way. The laundry was, yes, traditional way, RFP it, get the person in, cut the cost down. But like you say, now you're bringing value back. And, Westside's United story is, for the listeners that want to actually go and look that up, it's just incredible. Tell me, other sorts of ways that you're trying to actually replicate that line of thinking and how you bring value? Because I was just thinking, wow, what about freight? You could actually start up your own freight logistics company.
Something we're talking about.
Okay, had no idea.
Yeah,
you got 20 seconds to tell us about that one.
No, that is something we're exploring. Okay. We're actually exploring what are other businesses we could say that if we did this type of model with, we could do. But then there's even other things we do, like our food courts in our hospitals. How do we partner with local community, like restaurants, and say, hey, if we give you a spot in our food court, so that they can earn revenue and things like that. So those are just little things you keep doing when you think differently.
That, to me, is mind-blowing with regards to resetting procurement and supply chain. Perfect.
Mind-blowing. I love it.
Mind-blowing.